And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and this is our Week 5 power rankings for the MLR 2024 season. Week 5 is in the books. It wasn't a very long week. There are only 4 games, a bunch of teams on bye, 4 teams on bye. Actually, more than, 4 teams on bye. So, not a lot of movement per se in the rankings, but to be honest, those 4 games there was some interesting development, and I'll kind of go over it when we start to talk about the games. But it still was a pretty exciting week of MLR action, and there was definitely a really good game, could compete for game of the year. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to the rematch. And ironically enough, the rematch of these two teams is going to happen at the very end of the season. It'll be interesting to see where these two teams are on the power rankings and in the standings at the end. But without further ado, let's go over again the power rankings, how they're developed. If you've never seen my show before, power rankings are not based off of your win-loss record, where you are in the standings or on the tables, depending on what country you're from. And when you talk about sports, it's really about who you're playing on the pitch, who you beat, where you beat them. Are you the home team? Are you the visiting team? Are you traveling clear across the country? And what have you been doing lately? Have you been on a winning streak, or are you on a losing streak? And are you beating teams that are on the upper part of the rankings, or are you losing teams that are the lower part of rankings? All those play into factors into determining the power rankings. It's not as simple, well, this team is the top team in the East or the West, so they should be in the top of the power rankings. No, it really is about what you do on the pitch, and it really will determine on how well you perform. So, with that being said, a team that, again, you got to give them a lot of credit because they are trying their best. They really are with the resources they have. And this is going to be the running theme of the week. They actually had a really good chance of getting their very first win in franchise history. Unfortunately, out of all the new teams, 3 of them starting the season, they are the team without a victory. And unfortunately, they still are searching for that first win of the season. Anthem Rugby Charlotte is your number 12 team. They fell short to Old Glory DC, 46-32. They did get the bonus point. Their third, I believe it's their second point of the season. So they didn't walk away empty-handed per se, but they actually were ahead at the half. That was the shocker of this game. I don't know if Old Glory maybe feeling a little overconfident, picking on the new kids on the block, but at the half, the score was 20-17. Old Glory made a lot of mistakes, including a yellow card at the 35-minute, and Carolina, of course, with Jake Turnbull being their captain and leading the charge, scored, I believe it was his third try of the season. And then, of course, Tarango Waitokia, a guy that I'm still regretting that Atlanta didn't take up and put onto their squad when they moved over to LA, also scored a try. So again, by the half, the shocker was that Anthem Carolina was ahead of Old Glory 20-17. Was this going to hold up? Unfortunately, it did not. And like I said, that is going to be the running theme of the week. All 4 games, the team that was winning by the half was not the team that won the game. It was really shocking. But it did make for some very interesting and really good games. So again, after the halftime, Jason Robertson for Old Glory was able to score a penalty kick, tied up the game, and then it was pretty much all Old Glory. Old Glory scored about 2 more tries. Anthem still was fighting back. They scored a try to get within 7, and then it was all Old Glory at that point. So Old Glory, again, 46-32, kind of woke up in the second half, but if it wasn't for that, If it wasn't for that, sorry about that. If it wasn't for that, we might have been seeing Anthem pull off the surprise victory of surprise victories and getting the win over Old Glory. But like I said, they did get a bonus point scoring 4 tries, so they didn't walk away empty-handed. They have 2 points this season, but they're still looking for their first win of the season. Another team that has been struggling quite a bit this season so far, number 11, the Dallas Shackles, who, again, were looking pretty good at the beginning of the season, but unfortunately fell short to Houston, 27-30, but nothing to be ashamed of. And honestly, this was the match of the week, and again, could be a great contender to be match of the year. If you haven't seen the match, you look on the Rugby Network, and I've touted it enough times, and I'll keep telling it again. A great app to have. You can watch every game live or on demand for the Major League Rugby season, as well as you can watch a lot of other games from around the world, college rugby as well. It's absolutely free. Premiership Rugby costs a little bit more, but it is a great, great, great app to have. If you haven't seen this Dallas-Houston game, watch it. It is a phenomenal game. Houston is one of the, if not the top team right now in Major League Rugby, and Dallas was not afraid to throw hands with them. Dallas scored, well, right off the bat, it was Houston that scored a try, but after that, it was all Dallas. AJ Atimu, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about Houston, unfortunately injured, but David Coetzee is the backup, the guy who scored the most points last season. Not a bad guy to have as your backup. Fly half. He did phenomenal in place of AJ, but Dallas was doing a lot. Dallas was able to capitalize on a yellow card that Houston had, and Dallas was actually up 15-14 at the half, but immediately in the second half, Houston was able to score another try, and Dallas kept knocking on the door. There was quite a few missed penalty kicks. Martin Elias, who's usually very, very clutch for Dallas, missed 3 penalty kicks and conversions. I think 2 conversions and a penalty kick that he missed. Very valuable points when you look at the score at the very end. Fortunately, Isaac Vaughan, who has been phenomenal, Vaughan Isaacs, who has been a phenomenal backup for Martin Elias, he was able to finally get a conversion point to get the score tied at near the 75th minute. But unfortunately, a really, really dumb penalty on Dallas at the very last second in overtime allowed David Coetzee to punch it in for a penalty kick to win by 3, and was able to allow Houston to get out of Choctaw Stadium to beat Dallas 27-30. Again, Dallas was ahead at the half. Unfortunately, Houston was able to fight back. You know, there were points during my making of this power ranking that I wanted Dallas to move up. Because, man, win is a loss, almost not a loss. This game, Dallas was so close. And again, Houston is right now currently my number 1 ranked team. Are they going to be number 1 at the end of this week? We'll see. But number 1 ranked team, Dallas not very high up, second to last, and yet they went toe-to-toe, almost pulled off the victory, just losing by a missed penalty kick. And again, Martin Elias went 0 for 3. If he made any of those conversions or penalty kicks, we might be talking about a completely different score. So, man, Dallas was so close in this game. Houston looked a little shell-shocked, but they definitely fought back. They weren't bending over for Dallas. Not having AJ Atimu, you still have David Coetzee, so it's not like you can blame the missing AJ Atimu. Just Dallas really tried their best to pull off an upset here, but just came short. Again, I was really debating about allowing Dallas to move up. I ended up not doing it because also, too, some of the other teams did pretty well as well. So it was hard for me to justify moving anybody. Let's talk about another team that actually did very well, but then just kind of fell apart at the end. Other new kids on the block, the Miami Sharks, stay at number 10, losing a heartbreaker and a kind of a head-scratcher to the San Diego Legion, 21 to 22. Now, in this game, again, Miami was doing really, really well. They scored a lot of penalty kicks off of a very penalty-driven San Diego. San Diego was doing a lot of really dumb penalties and allowing Felipe Echeverri, who has been clutch for Miami, one of the top scorers so far in this very young season, but has been a phenomenal player for Miami, was just hitting penalty kicks left and right, and even scored a try. So by the halftime, it was 21-5. And all 21 points by Miami were all by Felipe Echeverri, because he also scored a try on his own. But then again, the second half started, and man, 21-5, Miami up, turned into 21-22 as San Diego just woke up. I don't know if it was the travel from San Diego over to Miami, or it just took San Diego a little bit of getting that jet lag off of them, but finally San Diego was able to pull it off. And in the 8-minute mark left in the game, Lincoln McClutchy, who's been pretty clutch for San Diego, is able to kick the penalty kick to get San Diego by 1, and San Diego barely pulls off the win over Miami. Again, we could have had another huge upset, but San Diego was just able to pull it off at the very end. So with that close game and Dallas's close game, I really couldn't justify moving either one up. So I left them both where they were. Number 9, a team that ended up kind of losing a little bit more embarrassingly, but again, you couldn't really justify them dropping or raising up Miami or Dallas, is the Chicago Hounds, who lost to the Seattle Seahawks 26-34. Again, another game where Chicago was up on Seattle at the half. 26-12 at the half was Chicago. Chicago was dominant from the start, 26 straight unanswered points. 2 of those, they scored their 4 try bonus points within the first quarter of the first half. 2 of them, I got to shout out to Noah Brown, the 2023 Collegiate Draft pick, number 4 pick overall, the first round pick for the Chicago Hounds, a Indiana University product. Phenomenal debut for Chicago. He is going to be a star player in the future and a possible Eagles in the future as well. He is quick, he's fast, he is not afraid of contact. He bowled over a couple of Seattle players on his way to scoring some tries. Unfortunately, Billy Meeks, who was back in his regular position as center, got a yellow card at the 30-minute mark, and that allowed Seattle to get a try. And from that point, again, I told you, it's halftime is 26-12, 26 unanswered points to start the game by Chicago, and then 34 unanswered points by Seattle from that point on to the end of the game. In the end, Seattle wins it 34-26. After those 26 points by Chicago, they did not score again. It was all Seattle. You know, there's something wrong with Chicago. This was Chicago has only won 1 game at home in the last 10 attempts. 1 game in 10 attempts at home. They are 1 for 9 at home in SeatGeek Stadium. It's a very, very odd stat. There's just something really wrong with Chicago. I've been saying it from the start. I've been saying it from last year. Unfortunately, I kind of drink the Kool-Aid again because Chicago added a lot of great players to the squad, including the top try scorer in all of Major League Rugby history, Dylan the Butcher Fawcett. I mean, they have a phenomenal... Nick McCarthy is on the team, phenomenal Eagles player. I mean, they have a lot of great talent on this team. And for whatever reason, they are just not doing as well as they should. And I think the home record really says a lot too. 1-9 at home. Something is wrong with Chicago. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if they're going to get any better from here. But they stay at number 9. Number 8, also staying at number 8, Old Glory DC, who even though they defeated Carolina, Anthem Carolina, with a score of 46 to 32, they were losing to Anthem at the half. And again, beating on the very last place team who has not won a game, but yet struggling. I couldn't justify moving Old Glory, especially considering the 4 teams that are ahead of them are all on buys. So I'm not a big fan of moving a team up or down when you're on bye. You kind of have to stay put. There was nothing that Old Glory did to impress me to have them move up. So Old Glory unfortunately stays where they are at number 8. And then the next 4 teams were all on bye, so they stay where they are. Rugby Football Club LA stays at number 7. The Utah Warriors stay at number 6. Number 5, your reigning defending MLR champions, New England Free Jacks, stay at number 5. And then a very surprising Nolo Gold, who's been really, really good, are at number 4. So, your top 3. All teams that won, but again, all teams that had to kind of come back to win these games. San Diego beating Miami 22 to 21. You know, I don't like dropping a team for winning. But it was a very, very close win. And again, a team like that's new, you know, I was debating about moving them down, but I couldn't justify moving NOLA up because NOLA didn't do anything, and there's no way that they need to slide that far down. So San Diego gets to stay at the number 3 spot. One thing I do got to mention about San Diego in this game, you know, there was a yellow card by Hugh Roach in this game, and this is Hugh Roach's 4th yellow card of the season. And this yellow card, I mean, if you watch the replay, again, you can watch it on the Rugby Network. If you watch this yellow card incident, this penalty, Hugh Roach is in a mall, and he is pushing. A Miami player is making his way illegally, yes, and there was a penalty called around when you're in a mall. If you're still learning the game in the mall, when you have the teams going against each other, the point of the mall is you have to go forward and back, and you can go forward if you want to get the ball. Thing is, when the Miami player was going forward, he ended up trying to circumnavigate around, which is illegal. You have to go through. Just like when the scrum is formed, you have to go through the scrum. You can't go around. That's illegal. So this Miami player was in the wrong. But as that Miami player was trying to make his way back, Hugh Roach saw the Miami player's foot, and you see it purposely. He stomps on the foot, and the point of impact was the back of the ankle and the Achilles. I mean, with cleats, that is dirty as they get. And I mean, you know, I respect all rugby players. It's not an easy sport. Tempers flare and everything, but man, what a dirty play. I mean, it's also a very dangerous play. I mean, you can seriously cripple a player as well as, you know, cut short a career by just simply doing something as heartless as stomping on a dude's ankle. Come on, man. I mean, that wasn't cool. I just wanted to make a mention of that because something like that should not be allowed in any sports. Also, shout out to, on a good note, a San Diego player, Ethan Grayson, scored his 2nd try of the season. A newer addition to the San Diego Legion, helped San Diego pull ahead. Again, also Lincoln McClutchy doing his part, kicking off the tee, has been a great addition to San Diego in replacement of Josh Henderson, who is not kicking right now. And then the number 2 team, who also had to kind of come from behind to win their game, the Seattle Seawolves, who were able to defeat the Chicago Hounds 34 to 26. After letting Chicago take the lead 26-0, Seattle comes back to score 34 unanswered points to walk away with the win. Of course, got to give a shout out to Mac Mason, who was phenomenal in the game. He is the top point scorer right now in the season, 73 points. He scored 14 points in this game, 4 for 6 off the tee with a try of his own in the game. I get this wrong. I'll admit, I get this wrong about players who I'm questionable whether or not they will step up to replace some phenomenal players and some pivotal players on a team. Biggest point is New England. When they lost Bodie Waka, I thought there's no way New England will be good because Bodine Waka is a phenomenal player. Right now, he's playing in Japan. He might come back to New England. He did that last time, where he'll play at the second half of the season. But along came a guy by the name of Jason Patros, who honestly did not miss a beat in being the guy who can easily replace Bodie Waka. It arguably was better than Bodie Waka on New England, and he is the sole reason why New England was able to win a championship game without Bodie Waka. Seattle loses both AJ Alatimu and Jordan Chait, two of the top point scorers in the league. Didn't matter. Mac Mason, guy who was out of the league last season, came back after a little hiatus. No problem. Literally, he said, hold my coffee. And he had no problem. He is now being phenomenal for Seattle. Like I said, top point scorer. He is doing exactly what AJ Alatimu has done. And Seattle has not. I mean, granted, AJ Alatimu kind of bit Seattle in the butt when Houston was able to beat them. But other than that, Mac Mason has done a phenomenal job replacing AJ Alatimu, and Seattle stays at the number 2 spot. And of course, number 1, because they won as well. But they had to fight back too. Houston defeating Dallas 30-27. Not much to say about Houston. Again, it was a struggle for them. It wasn't an easy win. And Dallas was very much game for this game. I mean, again, Dallas did not recognize the fact that Houston is still, or was at that point, the only undefeated team left in the league. They still are right now because they did defeat Dallas, but Dallas didn't blink an eye at that fact, and they went toe-to-toe, winning at the half, but Houston proving why they are the only undefeated team left in the league and why they are still the number 1 ranked team on my power rankings, were able to pull off the victory. Very, very impressive. Very, very impressive with them. And that's our power rankings. I mean, honestly, sorry, this was more of a review video than anything else. Nothing has changed, but these are the power rankings. And again, that's what happens when you have 6 teams on bye. 4 teams on bye. Not a lot of movement. And also, too, all the teams that were supposed to win won. All the teams that lost ended up losing. So, what more can you say about it? Except that means now that we've finished the power rankings, which again, let me know what you think about my power rankings as always in the comments below. If you agree with them, if you disagree with them, if you think I'm completely full of it with the power rankings. I always want to hear what your thoughts on it are. But that means now we're going to talk about SuperBru. And let's go over our SuperBru results for this week. Boom! And our top point scorer with the golden cap, BT Woodrow. Congratulations, brother. 8.83 points. I think most everybody got, I can't say most everybody, but a good majority of us got 4 for 4 with the predictions this week, including yours truly, which I definitely needed a good week for this one. But BT Woodrow got the most bonus points as well as all 4 teams right, 8.83. The reviewer, 812, coming in a very close second, 8.33. John Hawkins, Hawk, coming in third with a solid 8 points. Sunshine, 7.75. And Wild Thing, I don't think I've said your name in the top 5 so far this season, at number 5 with 7.5. Unfortunately, the Wooden Spoon, a guy that's usually on top of things, but James A. 117, unfortunately, with the lowest score this week, which means our top 5 changes quite a bit. And Tex is still number 1, 36.91, and actually he has increased his lead by a couple points. But number 2, rising up a spot, is Sarai. Again, apologies if I'm saying the name wrong. 30.58. He went up a spot, and then Mr. Rugby goes up 2 spots to number 3, 34.58. Mr. Rugby and Sarai are tied for second. So 4th place is JZ3, still hanging on with 34.33, and unfortunately, James A. 6117 drops down a couple of spots to number 5, 33.33, while John Hawkins is at number 6 with 32.25. Our bottom 5, Red Baron still holding on at 26 with 24.25 points. I actually moved up a couple of spots because of my perfect record this week. Dogmai goes up to 27, 23.58. I'm still near the bottom, but at least I'm up a couple spots. Unfortunately, dropping a whopping 8 spots. USA, League, and Union Rugby fan. Oh, sorry, brother. I know you're still. It's tough. Don't worry. I've had a horrible season so far. I'm sure you'll be able to turn yours around. So don't worry. We're in the doghouse together. We're in the bottom, but I'm sure both of us will be able to get our way back up. He drops 8 spots down to 28. 29 dropping a spot down is Lady Juliet at 20.50. And at the very bottom, Leon with 17.50. But hey, Leon, hang in there. You're still doing great, brother. I mean, you're still trying. You'll work your way up. I was able to work my way up at least a couple of spots. So that is our SuperBru. So again, not a very long video this week just because only 4 games. But again, a lot of great games. And again, you can watch all those games live. I'm sorry, those games are not live, but on demand. You can watch all of next week's action absolutely live and on demand on the Rugby Network. Absolutely free. Check them out. And yeah, thank you very much as always for watching my video. And I'll see you on the pitch.